Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, I have Hayden Crabtree. Welcome, Hayden.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. I'm really glad to have you here. And Hayden's got a great story, great background, and a great book to share with us. Some of the secrets of how to be successful in real estate. But before we dive in, Hayden, and we kind of just go down the road of your story and some of the advice that you have for the audience, tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, all of that.
Yeah, so I'm currently 25. I'm from Georgia, born in a small town in North Georgia, currently live in Atlanta. I got started in real estate whenever I headed over to the University of Georgia for college. And I kind of realized that what they were teaching me over there was not really what I wanted to learn. I always had this burning desire of I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a business owner. I want freedom. I want control of my life. And most importantly, I want to make a lot of money. Just always knew that I wanted to make a lot of money. And, I kind of got started in college and realized that the people who were teaching me how to go out and, be a business owner or in business college, they weren't teaching me anything about how to be an employee, and it wasn't until a mentor of mine told me to read a little purple book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad that I got the idea of, hey, maybe there's something to this real estate thing, right? Because my parents aren't entrepreneurs. They're not investors. They're just normal W-2 people, and I love them to death. But I didn't really get exposure to that. Nobody in my family had that exposure. And so that was really my first exposure early in college. And, I read that book, said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to learn how to be a real estate investor, started skipping class. I found a mentor who was a real estate investor, owned, I think a couple hundred houses at the time, some apartments, flipping, wholesale, and doing a lot of different kinds of real estate deals. And I started skipping class in college to go work for him for free. And I did that for over a year. And that's really where I cut my teeth, in the real estate world of figuring out how things work and where I wanted to focus, which, has ended up being commercial real estate, value add commercial real estate. And so that's just a little background of how we got here.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's funny is, I don't know how many people say Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Yeah. And I think that every time I think about that book, I think about how it started. And it started as a manual for Robert Kiyosaki's game, right? Mm-hmm. And his cash flow game. And if you haven't ever played his cash flow game, it's probably the most expensive board game you're ever going to buy. It's like $100 or $80 or something, but just go get it. Just buy it on Amazon. It'll be here in 2 days. But that game, it was like a manual. And then he got on Oprah, and then all of a sudden it was the book, right? It was, oh my gosh, the book was selling like crazy. So thank goodness for the rest of us that maybe wouldn't have bought it as the manual for the game. So I always think of, fortunate circumstances there. So I like that because there's a lot of people, maybe they're still in college. Maybe they were in college 20, 30, 40 years ago and didn't graduate or suffered through it and thought, what am I doing? Right. And they didn't have the courage or the opportunity that you did, finding the mentor. I mean, that's, Tony Robbins says, if you want something, find somebody who's got it and do what they did. Right. So, I'm all for that. So a couple of things. What was your first step? Was it to find the mentor, or was it to take action in some way? Was it to evaluate deals? What was the very first step that you did?
Yeah, my first step, listen, it's not complicated. I'm not a smart guy. Got on Google. I typed in how to be a real estate investor. And the first link that popped up, I clicked on it, and that led me to a website called Bigger Pockets, where I kind of explored around there. They had a little search bar, and I typed in the city I was in, which University of Georgia is in Athens. Typed in Athens, Georgia. A couple forums popped up. I read about this one guy where he said, I had wholesaled 8 duplexes, so 16 total units, made a couple $100,000. A year later, he went on to buy them back from the guy he wholesaled them from, did a renovation on it, and then did a cash out refi. At the end of the day, he had made a couple $100,000 from wholesale fees, had no money in the deals, had, tax benefits galore, and the property was still cash flow. And I was just like, what is this guy even saying? As a 19-year-old kid, I was like, I don't even know what a refi is. I had no idea. And so for me, a lot of my success has come from the idea of like, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to do it. And so in that exact moment, I said, this guy is going to be my mentor. I stalked him. His phone number wasn't right there. I searched on the internet for 20 minutes, found a phone number on Google, picked up the phone and gave the guy a call and said, hey, I'd love to buy you lunch. I'd love to meet you for coffee. He said, I don't drink coffee. I'm too busy for lunch. You can meet me in 15 minutes at this property I'm going to right now. I said, wow. Text me the address, hop in the car, went and met him. You know, he showed me this renovation project he was doing on a 6-unit. And, just looking at him, I go, hey, I have no experience. I have no money. I have no connections. I have no network. I don't know what is going on, but I know for sure this is what I need to be doing instead of, spending my time looking at a textbook. So I'll work for you for free, and he just looked at me like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I'm serious. Like, this is what I want to do. I'd never met this guy a day in the life. I stalked him on the internet, looked up his phone number. Here I was 30 minutes later saying, I want to work for you for free. And that's how it started.
The way that I wrap everything up that you just said is you took action. And, there's people out there in the audience right now, and they're saying, I love real estate. I know a little bit about it, or I'm reading about it, and they just are paralyzed normally because of fear of something, right? And the only thing that cures fear is action. And you took action. You took action to Google, how to be a real estate investor. You took action to educate yourself on bigger pockets. You took action to find a mentor. And then, you take action, you take action, you take action until you get traction, right? And then you got traction, and the rest is, now it's just a matter of how many times can you do it, right? And I mean, I know there's more to it than that, and managing the debt. But, I met a guy one time, he retired from a power company at 35. He got a big buyout. It was Warren Buffett owned the power company. Right place, right time, smart guy, Arthur Anderson consultant, blah, 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 blah. But he had to get lucky. It was right place, right time. So we were going to do this, one of the first business deals that I ever did. And he said, well, Jim, we're not going to use our own money. And I was like, well, how are we going to, I mean, did you remember what they're asking? I mean, we got to come up with at least 10 or 20% of that, don't we? And he's like, this is a long time ago. And he's like, nope, we don't have to come up with anything. We're not going to use our money. And I learned, that was like one of the best lessons I ever learned. And I thought, well, this guy's worth $50 million. What's he going to do with this? I mean, and I still don't know what he's doing with this 50 million bucks, but he's not putting it in deals. I can tell you that much. So way back to the beginning, you said, I want to have a lot of money. Now, this is what I say, money gives you choices, choices give you freedom. And my 23-year-old daughter, she always says to me, when she was high school and she'd throw a fit, all you care about is money. Now that was about the time she changed from pre-med to theater. Okay. So all you care about is money. And I said, money gives you choices, choices give you freedom. I care about freedom, and I want you to have freedom. That's why I'm a little skeptical about the theater degree. Okay. So, I hope that she proves me way wrong someday, but it hasn't happened yet. So what drove that you wanted to have a lot of money? Was it just competitiveness? Was it adversity? Was it seeing somebody else that had money? What drove that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think I've ever been psychologically analyzed in that. My parents, they do well. And so I've always liked the ability to just have things. But I think maybe one of the first experiences is the guy who owns the company my dad works for is, it is a 9-figure business. And I went over to their house one time, and I remember, that they pointed to the painting above their fireplace. So that was a $2 million painting. Wow. And I just go, why? It's like, because that's what we want to do, and just that idea, kind of like what you said, I just want to do what I want to do, and I realized that money was the gateway in order to doing that. Now, of course, money can only solve money problems, but there are a lot of money problems in the world, and so as long as you take care of the other stuff, your health, relationships, money will take care of the rest for you.
Absolutely. All right. So, what was your first deal? Talk about your first deal. You work for this guy for free. You kind of learned, and then when you went out and did your first deal, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, my first deal was with him as a partner. I essentially went from working for free to working for equity inside of deals, which was great. I mean, after about a year of working for free, I'd learned the ropes on, several different stages, from helping him wholesale deals, flip houses, buy single family rentals, and move cash from single family up into bigger multifamily properties in 1031 exchanges. And so, my first deal was a $500,000 storage facility that we did under a lease option, put $30,000 into that deal as a down payment. Again, none of that was my own cash. As you said, you don't have to have your own cash. And so we put another, I think, $40,000 into it. So we're a total of $70,000 into this deal. And today the deal sold. We sold it for 1.2 million. So turned 70,000 to 700,000 bucks in a matter of 2 years. And really, that's just like a light switch of man, commercial real estate is where it's at in every sense of the way. I mean, there are a lot of people who love houses. I don't know that I've ever seen any house deal where you could turn 70K into 700K. And that's just the power of, whether it be, I personally like storage units, down in where you're at. Big popular thing that I'm a fan of is boat and RV storage facilities. Yep. But it's the same for multifamily deals. It's the same for industrial. It's the same for retail. Any commercial real estate complex of any kind is the type of property that I love.
So the other thing to think about, with the way that we think about this, especially like with infinite banking, Hayden, is, like if I were going to do the deal that you just talked about, you really didn't have $75,000 in the deal. You had whatever the $75,000 or 70,000, I'm sorry, whatever the $70,000 cost you, right? So if you're doing infinite banking, you got all this money shoved in this tax shelter that's like an insurance contract, and you take a loan from the insurance company, you only have to pay the interest on the 70,000 until you sell the deal, or you pay that back with cash flow or whatever. So, think about that. When you think about the multiple, then you really, if you had $10,000 of interest in that and you made 700 grand, that's a pretty good multiple, right?
70. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a 70. Right. And, it's funny when I tell people, okay, look, if I'm going to do this, like we're looking 25% cash on cash. If it's not right there or better, something's wrong. Right. And they go, well, I have people that tell me, oh, that's low. But I try to use it as an example because I don't think it's high and I don't think it's low, but I think it's kind of okay. But when I have somebody that says, well, 25%, that's too high. And I go, oh, okay, you're talking about like flipping houses or something like that. So, and then that does sound high if you're going to do that, right? To those people. But so when, I always think, your total out-of-pocket costs, the interest or how, whatever cost you for that 70, and you made, that's now when we talk about banking being the most efficient, profitable business in the world, that's getting in there where we're competing with the banks now, right? Because the bank loans you money at 5.2, but gives you on deposit 0.2. And people say to me, well, that's 5%. No, that's not how a business works. Is 0.2 is their cost. 5.2 is their profit. You divide the cost into the profit. That's 26 times. 26 times is pretty good.
Plus fractional reserve. They get to do that 10 times.
Exactly. So they get that. Yeah, they get to do that 10 times, which is why banking is. And yeah, by the way, we could go down that rabbit hole of the Fed and Nelson Nash, my mentor. He would go down that road, and man, by the time you got done listening to him, you'd be ready to go march on the Capitol. No, I'm just kidding. We're not political here. I'm only kidding. And do not march down the Capitol. But all right, talk to me about skip the flip.
Yeah. Skip to flip. Secrets the 1% know about real estate investing is the manifesto of everything I've learned about how to avoid going and getting a traditional job and the vehicle and the mindset of real estate. And we can talk residential real estate, but again, I'm a huge fan of commercial real estate because we can control the values, because if we control our income, we control our values in commercial real estate. And in the residential world, our neighbors, the other people negotiating other deals, control our values based off of how much they sell their properties for. And so I'm just a lot bigger fan of commercial real estate. And that was a lesson that I learned early on, right? Is that residential real estate and commercial real estate are the same level of difficulty, but commercial real estate has more zeros on the end of every check, which I liked a lot, And so Skip the Flip, Secrets the 1% Know About Real Estate Investing is a book that I published just around the time that COVID hit. And luckily I've been very fortunate that the message has resonated with a lot of people. It's been a bestseller since the day I've launched it, which is really cool. And I wrote this book as a way of just helping people, right? Whenever I graduated college, I didn't go get a job. I was financially free, which is, I'm super proud of that. And a lot of my friends after the graduation scene who were working in finance degrees, working 80, 90 hours a week, seemingly in society's eyes doing well, making, $70,000 or $80,000 a year or whatever it is, as a 24, 25-year-old. And, but they all are like, man, I hate my job. Right. So how do I get into this real estate thing, Hayden? How do you not have a job? And, so I just catch up with my old friends and, I tell them about real estate. They go, yeah, but I think that I'm going to get into real estate. And I think that I'm going to start flipping houses as a way to get on my job. I just go, no, like, guys, you need to skip the flip. Right. And then I go on to explain to them about everything that's wrong with house flipping from a financial freedom perspective. Why I don't have anything against house flipping, but let's call it what it is. It's a business. It's a job that requires time for money. And so the whole goal, everybody wants to get into real estate for the quote, the passive income, the residual income. And so that's just kind of where I coined the term. You guys need to skip the flip. Here's what the 1%, the wealthiest people know about real estate investing. And that book is, the outlining of how the 1% approach real estate, why they invest in it, from the tax benefits to leverage to inflation hedges, and then all the way down to commercial real estate and how to add insane amounts of equity and value, and then withdraw that tax-free, through either refinances or 1031 exchanges, which most people are just like, what are you talking about? How do I legally avoid taxes? This isn't a political statement. We are not political here, but a lot of people, if you got mad whenever Donald Trump says making him, smart by not paying taxes, if you got mad at that, you need to go read the tax code. Like, he just plays by the rules. That's all anybody does. You have to play by the rules. So don't get mad at the people playing by the rules, get mad at the rules, but we're here. The rules are what they are. So you might as well use them.
So, what's funny is a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was flipping through the channels one morning, having coffee, and the Today Show came on. And normally, especially while Donald Trump was president, I never watched the Today Show because they were so political that I couldn't stand it. And but I stopped for some reason because I don't know what it said on the screen that got my attention, but they said Donald Trump lost more than $1 billion from this year to this year. And I went, oh no. They're going to tell everybody that you can buy real estate, and while it's appreciating and while it's cash flowing, you can depreciate it off your taxes. I don't want them to tell everybody that. Oh my gosh, they're going to put that on the Today Show. And you know what? Hey, they didn't even say that. All they wanted to do was bash Donald Trump.
And so look how bad of a businessman he is. Look at how unsuccessful he is. I think they're trying to do it with him, depending on when you're watching this right now with the DC hotel too. Yeah. I haven't looked into the financials of that specifically, but it's the same thing,
Same thing. And it's funny because when you think about what we're taught in school, normally, and there's a reason, and I mean, this isn't conspiracy, this isn't political, but there's a reason why we are not taught how money works in school. Because if you want to enslave somebody, you got to keep them ignorant. And so if you want to enslave them financially, then you got to keep them financially ignorant. Okay. And I'm not calling anybody ignorant. I'm just telling you that's what our society does, is they don't want to teach you how to be savvy with your money. And what they do is they want you to put your money in qualified plans like 401ks and IRAs that the government controls, and you're going to keep the money in there for 20, 30, 40 years for you, Hayden, and they're not going to tell you how much they're going to charge you to withdraw it. Now, you would never do a real estate deal if you didn't understand the tax consequences. I don't care what kind of deal it was, right? But that's 100%. What they tell us to do. So what we have to do is, the reason that this podcast exists is break away. And we're trying to encourage people to take action. So Skip the Flip. How does somebody get access to Skip the Flip?
Again, I wrote this book to help people. I did not write this book in order to make money. If you want to go pick it off Amazon, Jeff Bezos makes more money than I do whenever you buy it off Amazon, but you can grab a paper book off there. But if you want it for free, I'm happy to give it out for free in audiobook or PDF. You just go to haydencrabtree.com/free book. You can have it absolutely free. It's my gift to the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to go get it, and I'll probably read it and listen to it because it takes that way I'll get it. But what I like too is, and I'm sure there's some psychology behind this, but there's people learn things in groups of 3, right? So, you could do 3 things in a chapter and you could do 10 chapters, but people learn. And so you have it. And I love things. You said something earlier, real estate, business, success in life, financial freedom is simple, but simplicity is elusive. So it's simple, but not easy. And you break it down so that you can make it easier in 3 keys to any deal, right? So
that's my second book, which just launched. So I got Skip the Flip 1, which is secrets to 1% no, and then Skip the Flip 2 is 3 keys to any deal. And really the main thesis around 3 keys to any deal is going back to where you're talking about this guy with $50 million is, hey, listen, guys, you don't need the money. You need to know how to manage stuff, and you need to know how to find deals. And that's the whole premise of that book is, how do I go complete deals without money? But when I have the hustle and the action to get traction.
That's awesome. And is that available on Amazon too?
Yeah, this just came out 2 days ago. So this
nice.
is available on Amazon. Yeah.
All right. I'm looking forward to both of them. I'm sorry. I thought when I saw the pictures of the book, I thought one was the front and one was the back. So I guess I should have clarified.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So, brand new. Well, that's, I'll tell you what, that's something that somebody told me when I was about 18 years old, is they said, Jim, read for an hour every single day. And if you read about any topic, you'll become an expert. And if you read for an hour a day, in 3 to 5 years, you'll have more education than just about anybody that you know. Because if you think about it, and all the classes that we take in school, and even if you're a doctor and went to school for 17 years for some specialties, how many business classes do they take? 0 or very few, right? How many economics classes? 0 or very few. And we want our doctors to not only be the best and brightest medically, but also we want them to be financially free, because there are some specialties you can't do when you're 60 years old, or you wouldn't want to be doing that all day long. And I know a lot of doctors 10 years into practice, they think, I don't want to do this anymore. But they're taught, put money in a profit sharing plan, do this. And it's like, they're taught the wrong things too. And it's something that I love the title, Skip the Flip. One, it's easy to remember, but you're saying sometimes, flipping makes a great TV show, right? I mean, and I know you do the same thing. I don't watch these flipping shows very often, but when I do, and I see their bottom line profit, which, how do I know if that's true? It's never, I go, wow, that's a lot of drama for whatever amount of money it was, 30, 50, whatever, $1,000, right? And people sitting in the audience go, well, man, if I did 2 of those a month, yeah, but that's not how it works. And
and people forget to pay attention to the little banners in the top right. They go 8 months later. You
know what
I mean?
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
like, oh, I just watched them make 80 grand in 20 minutes. And it's like, well, in reality, that took them a year, and they forgot to add in closing costs, carry cost, all of the stuff. You
took the words out of my mouth, they don't give you all the details. So, but what they're doing is saying, hey, isn't that really entertaining? Isn't that really? And I call that the noise. So flipping shows, Property Brothers, those kinds of things, it's noise. And it's noise to say, hey, you know what? I can't do that. Or I don't want to do that, or whatever it is. I'm not going to get into real estate, right? It's kind of like when you see that commercial, the guy carrying around the big number. That's my number. If I just had that much money stagnant, sitting, dying in an account, then I can hope that I don't run out of money for the rest of my life. That's your plan? That's not a good plan. That's not a good plan. We can show you a faster plan, a better plan, a more secure plan, a happier plan. And so how long, and I love this because I love the fact that you're in your 20s. I'm 56. I don't care if you're 86. I want a client, if there's anybody out there in the audience and they're 80 or above, and they say, I want to start at building a real estate portfolio today from 80. Okay. I want a challenge. I'll get Hayden. I'll get Logan Rankin. We'll help an 80-year-old, right? I'll pay whatever we got to pay to get it done, because I want to show somebody they can become financially independent in 3 to 5 years, even if they're 80 years old.
I mean, probably less than that.
I know I try to under promise and over deliver, but you're right. Now versus what? Trying to put $5 million in a 401k and then live off of 3% of that and hope you don't run out of money. You got to get rid of the noise, right? I mean, the noise lies. Skip the flip means don't do what the herd does. Do what the 1% does. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, you said it earlier about Tony, hey, if you want something that somebody else has, just emulate what they do. That's why it's the secret, the 1%. If you want what the 1% have, here's what the 1% do. Here's the strategies they're using. Forget about everything else.
Yeah. And you know what? You just reminded me of something there. And then what I say is take the best, leave the rest. There's nobody that you're going to meet that's going to be perfect, that's going to do it exactly the way that you want to do it. But if you find one person, 3 people, and that one person says, man, let me tell you about all the mistakes I made. Okay, skip those. Okay. Like take the best, leave the rest. Okay. So, well, Hayden, I could talk to you about real estate and financial freedom and financial independence all day long. But I want to make sure that at the end we give everybody again how to contact you and how to, just read your book, and if there's other coaching services or boot camps or anything else that you got going on. We'd love to hear about it. But let me ask you just a question that I like to ask everybody. And we've talked about some great books. So if it's one of those books, that's fine. And that's cool, because it just is a reminder to tell people, hey, go read this book again. If you didn't get what Hayden got out of it, and or the books that he's read or that I've read and that you've taken action, read them again. Read them until it kicks in. But if you could only retain the knowledge from one book that you've ever read, what book would it be?
I think it'd have to be Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow Quadrants. I think is the number one most impactful book I've ever read.
Yep.
Because I was talking with my buddy the other day, and we were having this discussion. We were talking about why some people make progress and some people don't. And I think that we boiled it down to it's only 80% of success, maybe even more, is mindset, and 20% is mechanics. And I think that book does a great job talking about the mindset piece.
Absolutely. Another book that a lot of people that are younger don't read of his, and I think it's one of his best books. And if I were in my 20s, I wouldn't read it because I'd think I don't need a second chance, right? But his book, Second Chance. I love Robert Kiyosaki. He's not a great, and I'm not saying I'm a great podcaster. His podcast it doesn't grab me. His books grab me. Love his books. He's probably my favorite author. If I could only retain one author, it'd be him. But the name Second Chance, he missed the boat, because only guys that are in their 50s or something that think they need a second chance. But I don't think I need a second chance. But I put that book on Audible when I was driving for 8 hours with my wife. And normally my wife, she likes stuff like this, but it's not her passion. Her passion is to take care of her family and our house and our stuff. So, but she listened to that for 8 hours straight, and she said, man, that was an amazing book. So if you haven't listened or read Second Chance, definitely a book that you should check out.
I hadn't. I'm going to have to go get it right now.
Yeah. It's a very good Audible book too. Some books are good Audible, some aren't, but I would read it or listen to Audible. Either one is really good. All right. So let's I love talking to young people, man, that are getting it. Cause I think your generation, they're not going to do what what everybody wants them to do, which is go get a job, work for 40 years, pay into the system, put your money in a qualified plan, do all of this stuff. You're not going to feed Wall Street. You're not going to feed the banks. You're not going to feed the IRS more than you have to. And you'll still pay more in taxes over your lifetime than 10 normal, all, middle America people. But I love the fact that this entrepreneurial spirit of your generation, and I love having people on here. And just remember, the other thing is Hayden started this when he's 21, he's 25, he's financially independent. That means if you're 80, you can do it by the time you're 85, right? I mean, like you said, maybe faster. But so I think young people are inspired by people like yourself, Hayden, and so are older people. Any famous last words before we wrap it up?
Man, I just appreciate it. I mean, I would tell everybody, if you're not currently in the real estate world, pick up Skip to Flip, listen to it, read it, whatever you got to do. It's the best information I have in there, and then after that, after you learn the numbers, I just came out with a new program called MyPropertyStats that I think will change the way that real estate investing is done. And I'd love for everybody to go check out MyPropertyStats.com because there's going to be some really good stuff over there that's going to change the way that real estate investing is done, from kind of this hidden asset, as Robert Kiyosaki calls it, insider deals, to more of a, mainstream where everybody's talking about real estate investing. So definitely go check that out. We
didn't even get into, how real estate and owning businesses fight inflation, but, we'll, in future episodes, I mean, I know the audience has heard me pound on that, but, inflation is a stealth tax. And you're being taxed right now. You have to be in something that's asset based, like real estate or like businesses, to where we can raise prices, we can raise rents, everything else. That's why when they say they're gonna raise taxes on the rich, no, they're not. They're gonna raise taxes on the poor, and that's how it always works. And if you haven't read another book, okay, just a last plug on a book, is Frederick Bastiat's. I can never say his last name right, but it's called The Law. And if you haven't read it, and how people plunder, legal plunder, they take from people their property and give it to somebody else or to the government, you got to read that book, because it'll open your eyes. All right. HaydenCrabtree.com and MyPropertyStats.com. Go there, get some great information. Hayden, thank you so much for being my guest and spending so much time with us today. And until next time, if you're in the herd, nothing good happens in the herd. You got to break away.